My name is Adam Hepburn. I'm one of the founding partners here at Hepburn, Hernandez, and Jung Trial Attorneys. And like Yanni said, we're going to talk to you about how we opened up our firm. And, anytime you're facing that type of hurdle, it's scary, it's difficult, there's a lot of challenges. And so we want to take you through what we went through, the challenges we faced, how we overcame those challenges, and how we're still doing it today. Our firm has been open for about 3 years now. We've been very lucky and blessed to have been met with a lot of success along the way. But it didn't come easy, and it still doesn't come easy. And we just want to go over what our experience was, and if we can help you along the way, try to perhaps be a little bit more speedy on the road to success, we're more than happy to do that. At any time you have any questions and you want to have us talk about something in particular about the subjects that we're covering today, put a message in the chat and we'll be happy to get it to you. And with that, we're going to have Mr. Jung get us going here.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to be going back and forth where we're using the share screen portion, but no, thank you so much. I know that time is obviously one of the most valuable things that we have. And so for you guys to be joining us, we really appreciate it. One of the things that I wanted to talk about real quickly was the fact that obviously if you're watching this right now, you're probably watching for one of two reasons. One, you've either already started a multi-partner firm or you are anticipating and you're planning to start that firm. And what I wanted to say was, if you have any hesitation, any fears, and anxiety about starting the firm with some other partners, because you don't know what's going to happen in the future, or you're thinking about failure, what I do have to say is we all felt that. That is not something that's going to be abnormal. And I'm telling you right now, you can absolutely do it. It's an amazing feeling to be able to start something on your own with your partners and to have a great team to be able to, work with every single day. And when you're not an employee and when it's something that it's your own, it's really like your baby, it becomes such an amazing thing and a feeling. So despite the fact that you have those fears, I'm telling you, you can absolutely do it. So thank you so much for watching. Who we are, we're just three guys that became friends and came to this decision that we wanted to create something special. I think that there's many times where you see these giants in the industry that have done so much, and you're thinking, is it possible? Is it possible to be able to do some of the things that other firms have been able to do, other attorneys have been able to do? And they all had a beginning, and for us, it was the same thing. It started with just the thought, and the plan of wanting to create this firm, and we were able to come together. I think that one of the most important things in order for you to start is to have a shared vision and a common goal. When Adam, Michael, and myself, when we came together, we knew that there was going to be a specific purpose to this firm. And for us, that was going to be trial attorneys. We had come from a place where each one of us, we love being in the courtroom. We love trial by combat. We love being in front of a jury and really advocating for our clients. And we knew that if we were going to start a firm, it had to have a goal and a vision of, we have to push our clients into a place where they could benefit the most. And we felt that place would be in a courtroom. Of course, the average person is not going to want to end up in a jury trial. But what we had seen time and time again was a situation where things were being handled very quickly. There was many shortcuts that were being taken in regards to settlements of cases. And the information that you ultimately find when you're preparing for trial or you're at the trial was usually beneficial for our clients. And we felt that if we pushed our clients to trial, if we were going through this trial by combat methodology, most of the time our clients were getting much more in regards to the settlement, much more in regards to the value of the case, and there wasn't going to be a discount. So I think that, whatever your common goal, the shared vision is, for your firm, for your partnership, it has to be aligned, because at the end of the day, what's going to happen is, as the firm grows, you're going to become incredibly busy. Time is going to be something that you're going to continue to lose, because there's going to always be more and more things to do and tasks. And if you don't have this shared vision, it's easy to run a multi-partner firm as just almost like it's an individual law firm for each partner, and you're under the same roof. But that's not going to be a successful firm. You have to have a shared vision that you can always come back to and remember, hey, this is why we started the firm. This is the reason that we have this firm in the first place. I have to give a shout out to the Trial Lawyers College, because this is something that connected all three of us. The Trial Lawyers College is something that I had learned about very early on when I was even in law school. And it's a college that was started by an attorney, a fantastic attorney named Jerry Spence. And we, all three of us, have so much respect for the people that are a part of this college, the people that founded this college. And it's out in Wyoming. We, all three of us, were accepted out there. And it was really here at this ranch, at this Trial Lawyers College, that for me, the seed was planted for me to do not only trials, but to do plaintiffs' injury cases. I was out there for about a month, and same thing with Adam and Michael. And there we knew that, hey, once we came back from this college, we wanted to start our plan on starting this firm, because trial was so important for us. Over 100 jury trials is what we have been able to do with all three partners. And I'm not saying this just to kind of bolster who we are, but this is really our foundation, our identity of who we are. And I think this is what has helped us to be able to maximize some of our cases. But going back to the shared vision and the goal, because this has always been the foundation of who we are, and because it's always been the foundation of our firm, we know that whenever we come into a situation where we're trying to figure out the direction of our case, or whether or not we should resolve our case, we always go back to this foundation. Is this, every case that we take, if we were to take it to trial, would we feel that it was the right decision? Would we feel righteous about this case? And that's how we think about every single case. And that's why the shared vision and the goal is so important. Adam, I'll let you go next.
And along those same lines, I mean, every business, the main goal is to be profitable. And obviously that was one of our main goals. But again, to be consistent with our mission, to uphold the values of the reason why we came together in the first place, was to litigate cases, fight aggressively, do the best we can for our clients, even if sometimes the economics don't at first glance appear to make sense. And just really quick, this is one of the cases, one of the first cases that we took to trial when we first became a firm. As you can see, the insurance offer on this case was really low. It was $4,000. You know, most people, most attorneys, most firms, when they see this type of offer and this type of case where the injuries weren't outrageous, you know, sometimes it doesn't make economical sense. You have to hire experts. You have to spend the time to put together all the mitigation material, all the litigation packages. And instead of saying, oh, let's just try to resolve it and cut our losses, we said, no, we believe in our client. We believe in our abilities, and we're going to take it to trial. And, you know, that's when our clients get to see the fruits of our labor. And that's when we get to, you know, make sure that we're being consistent with our vision and that we're on the right track, because the jury agreed with us and they gave us a much larger offer than we got from the insurance company in the first place. So that was just a really good event that happened early on to make us aware that we need to be consistent with our mission.
And I'll say that this is, I mean, this was just affirmation for what we knew that we wanted to do. Even though that, you know, Adam was talking about how, you know, maybe this didn't make the best business or financial sense early on because of how much time that you have to expend on a case that isn't valued that highly. But once we heard that verdict from the jury, once we heard from the judge after the trial in regards to our trial presentation, we knew at that moment, yes, this is affirmation for exactly why we started this firm, affirmation for why we want to continue pushing forward and taking on the cases that we wanted to take. And so even though early on there may be certain cases that might not make the financial sense. I think that if you take the path to doing the right thing in whichever practice area that you're in, it's just a great move for you. So.
All right, but enough about us. All right, so why you're here. One of the most important things when you decide to start a firm is to be intentional with your actions and make sure that you're putting the right building blocks in place so that your foundation is strong. I can't tell you how many other lawyers that I've met, whether it's solo practitioners or small firms or mid-sized firms, and they get together and they don't really think about exactly what they need up front to make sure that they have a solid foundation. Part of that is deciding how you're going to form your business, whether you're going to be a sole proprietorship, whether you're going to be a professional corporation, an S corp. The most important thing is to do it. And I feel like a lot of attorneys are sometimes inclined to try to do it themselves. If you think you're able to do it, great, you can save some money. We tend to outsource a lot and make sure that we have people to know exactly what they're doing, that do this all the time to make sure that our company organization is in place and that all the important documents. And you want to do it up front rather than wait until something happens, right? You always want to have these things done up front so that if something does occur, if there is an issue, if there is a contention, then it doesn't become an issue. Let's put the slide back up real quick. And that includes some difficult things, right? That includes your partnership agreement. That includes what happens if one of you dies. How are we going to sell the shares of your corporation to the other two partners? Are there wives involved? And how we're going to deal with that? How are we going to make sure that this business is solid, that there is a framework in place to pass on your interest in the business if something happens to you or if you decide to leave the firm? And that includes things such as voting rights, right? How do you agree to make structural changes to your company? How do you agree to bring on a new case? If one of the partners disagrees versus the two other partners, how do you decide that, right? Does it take a unanimous decision to take on a new case? Does it take on a unanimous decision to expend company funds? These are things that are best decided right up front before you have an issue in this regard. I can't stress enough that when you deal with this issue early, you save yourself time, headache, confrontation, and disagreement later on. So let's go to the next slide.
Yeah, and real quick, the reason why you have to have these difficult conversations is because you are going to have much more difficult conversations with your partners about other issues later on. And so if you can't get over some of these, like the voting rights, the buy-sell agreements early on, that should be a red flag. And nobody enters into a multi-partner relationship thinking, you know what, at some point, what if we have to split, or what if somebody passes away? Nobody thinks that, but then sometimes obviously things happen and that can occur. And so if these agreements are not there, if the voting right agreements are not there, they can cause problems, especially when the firm starts making money and especially when the firm starts growing. So absolutely do this early on.
And one of the things that we would be remiss if we didn't talk about is money, all right? I can't tell you how many times when we told people we were forming a law firm, and even in the past 3 years, every time I talk with another attorney or another firm and I explain how we formed our business, how we were not only business partners, that we were best friends, that we had confidence in one another, I frequently heard, well, good luck with that partnership, good luck. Yeah, I had a partnership once, it fell apart, or just wait until you start making money. There's a variety of comments that I would get all the time. Now, we like to think that we're different from that, but we think that there are a few key things that make us different to where, there's not those schisms or divisions or breakups because of hard feelings. And I think one of the main ones to talk about is money, right? Most people in general get weird when it comes to money. I mean, that's just kind of a reality. And so, when we started the firm, even before we started to bring on our own cases, we said, how are we going to do this? What if Elliott brings in 25 cases and I bring in 0? What if Michael settles a big case, but then that's it for the next 6 months? And we as a firm decided what we're comfortable with, and it's something that we've stuck to, that we don't get in disagreements about. But it's important to figure out what that division is. Do you bring in business? Is all the profits shared equally amongst the partners? Do you take a certain percentage for the partner who brought in that business? Those are important things to put up front. Put it in one of your company policies. Put it in one of the agreements. Put it in writing. Don't leave it to just an informal agreement with the partners, because you're setting yourself up for failure later on, especially if there is some sort of issue. Now, what also goes into that, though, is us three partners are not weird about money. That's one of the most important things. We work our butt offs. We make sure that we are always hustling, that we're always trying to bring in business. And that way, if I have a couple good months, great. But maybe the next month it's a little bit slow for me, and Mr. Jung and Michael Hernandez have a great month, right? In our mind, we are all putting out our efforts all the time, and in the end, it all works out because we're working as a team. But that's really important for us. Now, where it also comes to play is, you do need to have expectations, and those expectations need to be met amongst the partners, right? We have kind of turned into a system where all the partners have to engage in X number of activities for business acquisition. We need to reach out to attorneys. We need to engage in social media. We need to be in the community trying to acquire business. And we see what each of us does on a consistent basis. And so we're held accountable not only to ourselves, but we're held accountable to our business partners. And when you can see that all partners are working hard, are doing the legal work, are making an effort to acquire new clients, are tracking down leads, then it makes it a lot easier to share the profits, and it makes it a lot less awkward to share the profits, even if you had a big case, because you know that you guys are all doing the work equally, and you're one firm with one mission and one goal.
This is definitely something that you just have to address up front early, because it's not just about us though too. If you have a family, if you're married, and the firm starts making money, there's going to be potential issues that arise where people may disagree. And one partner may say, well, why aren't we taking bonuses? Why aren't we getting draws? And then another partner may think, you know what, we should invest our money into market. There's always going to be difference of opinion in regards to how the money is spent. I mean, early on in our, when we started the firm, I think for the first maybe like 4 or 5 months, we all agreed we were not going to take a single pay. Every penny that we made, we said that we're going to put it back into the firm. And we decided that we were not going to take a paycheck for like the first, I think it was like 5 months.
It was fun.
Yeah. when you make decisions like that, and the income is coming in, and people are saying, well, why aren't you guys getting paid? Or your spouse saying, why aren't you getting paid? That is a difficult thing. And so if you don't have, again, going back to the shared vision and the goal, it's a difficult thing. So you have to be able to have those early on conversations. And then the other thing is, it's not just money, it's pride. Most of the time that we speak to other attorneys that had failed partnerships, it's because pride got in the way. And I'll give you an example of that. If one partner is consistently bringing in all of the cases, and it's really the rainmaker, and maybe the 2 other partners aren't doing the same, it's easy for that pride to get in the way and to start thinking, well, then why do I have to share in the profits? Well, the solution to that is the partner that's bringing in the cases maybe needs to assist the other partner to show them how to do it better, right? Like, you need to be able to work as a team. If you see one team member that's failing in one category, then you need to be able to assist, instead of just letting pride become that animal where people are getting jealous and things like that. So that money and pride, I think, are the 2 biggest things that have caused failures in other partnerships.
If I can pop in for a second, looks like we have 2 quick questions if you'd like to answer. There's one from Irma, who asked if you're going to go over hiring essential employees to litigate cases to trial while keeping business development going.
Okay. Is that in the question and answer section? Can I pull that up?
Yeah, Irma's question is in the chat, and then we do have another anonymous question in the actual Q&A box.
Okay.
Sure. Well, why don't I address that one just really quick? So, hiring employees as a whole, is a whole different subject. But yes, I mean, hiring is incredibly important. And it's incredibly important that you have an opportunity to observe that employee working out your business before you make a final decision to retain them long term, or whether you're going to dismiss them after some sort of type of probationary period. And that's what we did. Luckily for us, we get a lot of interns and externs and people who are still possibly in law school, or perhaps just a recent graduate, where we could actually have them work with our firm for a period of time. We give them really hard stuff. We make sure to see if they can handle it. And then we have this testing period between 6 months and a year where we are pretty well aware whether we want to hire them. And that's been one of our, greatest assets, is that we have a big pool of people to choose from, especially where we are in San Diego and all the law schools. But when it comes to litigation and support staff, yes, I mean, when you get to the point where you are turning away business and you just can't keep pace with how much business you have, and you have the means to hire staff and paralegals and associates, then that's definitely something that you want to do. What we have found, and what my mentality is, and I think Elliott agrees, I want to hire people that are rock stars, right? You can hire 4 people that are okay, that do work, they do good work. I would prefer to hire one person that is a complete rock star and pay them way more, because that one person is going to do a much better job. They can handle more work, and that you can rely on them for anything. So that's been our mentality. We like to stay lean. I like to make sure that the people we have in place are super solid, that have been tested, that can handle stressful situations, that are experienced, especially in the litigation world. They're complex. They take a lot of time. There's a lot of moving parts. We have to have people that know what they're doing, that know the deadlines, that know the procedures in state and federal and different jurisdictions. So yes, if I was to boil it down, is if you're going to hire people, have a probationary period or have an opportunity to see them work before you make a decision. 2, hire the bare minimum of what you need to get done, stay lean, and pay that person well, especially if they're really good and you don't want to lose them.
Yeah, and I would say in regards to the hiring part, I think that it's so key to have just great staff. Like, we believe in making sure that we have really the best people that are working with us or working below us. And going back to pride, I think one of the other failures that I've seen is that as the owner or partner of the firm, people don't want to hire other people that are better than them, or they feel that they are better than them, or a better attorney than them, because maybe they're thinking, oh, maybe this person may take my clientele, or they're going to outshine me. That, I think, is a terrible way of thinking when you are hiring employees, because for us, I want to hire people that are better than me, better attorneys than me, better workers than me, because really that's the caliber of attorney that we want. And if at some point, if they decide that they do want to leave, kudos to them. That's great. This is not an easy process, but we want to make sure that we really have the best people working with us. And so you have to put that pride aside. And then in regards to business development, while also litigating the cases, you always, no matter what was happening in your practice, a part of your day, and I would say the earlier part of your day, always has to be dedicated in regards to advancing your firm. So whether it's business development, whether it's marketing, there has to be a portion of your day that you're spending for that, because that's really one of the most important pieces. If you have the cases, if you have the right business development, all the other issues or problems can be resolved, because you will continue to have more funds and more resources. But without that, you can't do that. So,
and one more thing on hiring, very briefly, outsource. If you can't afford a full-time employee, if you can't afford the type of staff that you need for certain projects, outsource. Find a good outsource. Use them to draft motions, to do some sort of back office work. Outsourcing is great. Okay. And this is just kind of a piggyback on the whole money, and I don't need to spend too much time on this, but it goes into these are the things you want to think about up front. How are fees going to be divided? How are you going to compensate employees that brought in business? Obviously you pay them a salary, but are you going to give them a percentage stake in cases that they bring in, cases that they settle? How are you going to structure bonuses? What sort of metrics are you going to use to establish bonuses? Do they have to achieve a certain number of client acquisition? Is it just that they are rock stars? And then obviously, once you get to a point where you're thinking about wanting to retain really good quality talent, you're going to have to start thinking about retirement benefits, healthcare, dental care, all that fun stuff. But again, it sounds scary, and it was scary at first. Nowadays, there are so many good companies that do everything for you. They're super tech savvy. You can outsource almost anything. So just don't make your business formation more complicated than it is. Don't figure it out all on your own. Use companies that do a lot for you, right? So we use one company that does payroll and medical and retirement benefits. Make it simple.
And this is going to the employee issue that people are raising. There has to be a division of labor in the firm. There's no way that you can just do everything that's happening. Of course, early on, maybe you're attempting to try to figure out how to manage all these things, because early on, you'll have more time than you'll have money. But as a firm continues to grow, there has to be a division of labor, because there just isn't enough time throughout the day for you to be able to do everything in regards to managing the trust account, figuring out what to do with the taxes, doing the marketing, managing all your cases, and doing the legal work. You know, one of the biggest concerns that we saw before we started the firm is that, you know, the best attorney was not always the most profitable attorney, or like the best marketing attorney was not always the best legal attorney. So I think the division of labor is so important, because you have to have people that you can turn to and trust for them to be able to do parts of your business, because you just don't have enough time. And I think that once you kind of give up the reins and you give up the control and you allow other people and you trust other people to do some of these other parts of the work for the company, at that point, you realize that, you know what, I can become much more efficient, effective in what you do well. And as the owner of the company, I think that the business development and the marketing piece is very crucial. And then, of course, when you're actually doing the legal work and working on your cases. But for everything else, you have to be able to find good people that can do the work.
Yeah, and this is kind of just a piggyback on what we just talked about. You know, you can divide the division of labor when it comes to certain people if they have really good skill sets, or they have a desire to take on that project. And that's kind of what we've done. We found what we are really good at, or at least proficient at, and we've divided our labor accordingly. You know, so for instance, I'm in charge of all the client trust accounts, and I'm in charge of a lot of the money that moves in and out of our accounts for two reasons. One, I am very I have a lot of attention to detail, and two, I can pay myself more than my partners, which I don't know, so it's all good. But you know, those are the types of things that you want to divide. Who's good at what? Okay, you take charge of that and have the confidence in them and the trust in them to do it. And then, you know, something that we are always going to come back to is outsource, outsource, outsource. So for instance, I'm also in control of really the HR and hiring and paying our employees, you know, but that doesn't mean I'm doing that 3 days a week. I have used a company that is really good. I have to make a few clicks of a button and it's done. And so, you know, yes, you have to pay these outside sources, but it will take so much time off of your hands, and the stress and the time, it's well worth it. And, you know, some outside companies are better than others. You want to make sure that the people that you are outsourcing especially important things to are good, are reputable, that they don't make dumb mistakes. And so sometimes that takes a few times to try out certain services, certain companies, but eventually you'll find somebody or find a company that you really like, and it will, you know, enable you to be even more productive and to concentrate more on marketing and client acquisition than to be bogged down in the day-to-day business management.
Yeah, I was going to say early on, man, I don't know how many times I try to figure out ways to, you know, get access to medical records. You spend so much time on the phone just trying to get somebody on the line, trying to get my client's medical records. Or, for example, like I remember I had to try to find a process server to serve something that was like out of county. And it really becomes, you're spending so much of your time when you should really be spending that time on things that are going to be advancing your firm in regards to getting new clients, in regards to building your brand. So being able to find the right companies, the right people to do the things that they're more efficient at, to gain medical records, to file things. Maybe, for your office space, I know that for people that are starting the firm right off the bat, one of the biggest expenses is really your lease payment for your office space. Nowadays, there's so many different companies that are doing these either shared spaces or where you get to go in and use a conference room whenever you're meeting with clients. I feel that early on, if you can take advantage of some of these services and you're not expending a lot of money and having a lot of overhead, that is so important. So it's just really finding the right things that you are willing to pay money for so that other people can do it for you and that you save the time.
Okay, marketing. So, this is probably one of the most important things as a firm. Some firms rely solely on referrals and, just really personal connections, which we obviously, do, and that's a huge component to our business. But we're in a modern age and, you need to have a marketing strategy in place. Otherwise, your voice, your firm, your abilities, your legal prowess will not be recognized because you don't have that sort of presence. And so for us, all these different types of social media platforms, you have Facebook and LinkedIn and Google, Instagram, all these different platforms, they are just a huge opportunity to get your voice heard. Now, there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of different types of services that are competing for people's attention. But, this is really important. You need to know that this is the new way moving forward. And so spend time on it. Luckily, we have found amazing people that help us work on this. We have an amazing, talented photographer, artist extraordinaire that helps us with all this stuff. And then one of our partners, Michael, thinks he's really funny, or at least funnier than me. And so he develops a lot of the content that goes onto our social media platforms. And, luckily, we've gotten a lot of good comments about our social media. But, there's a lot of clients that see this, and whether they go to there directly or they use it as a verification about our firm and about what our firm is about, it's really important. You have to be visible and you have to be, consistent about it. There's no other way about it. You have to make sure that you have a consistent presence, that you're putting out new material, that you're informing the public about the things that you've achieved, the legal successes that you've had, and also, personal stories. People want to know who they're hiring, especially in the types of cases that we take on. They're really difficult. They're challenging times for our clients. They're going through, something that's really difficult for them. And they want to know that they can relate to us and that we're human beings, not just lawyers. So, there's all those different components with marketing. And you also want to make sure that you allocate enough of your time and enough of your budget to marketing and to what in general is client acquisition. It took us a long time, to get to a point where we feel like we're putting sufficient effort into marketing. At the end of the day, your business is only going to be successful if you maintain clients and you get new clients. And, and without clients, you can't showcase your legal abilities. So marketing is incredibly important. I know that Mr. Jung is going to have more to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, I've just heard many people talk about like, oh, I can't do the social media thing, or, I don't like networking, or, I don't want to put myself out there. I don't like to be on social media. If you're a business owner and you're trying to create a multi-partner firm, there has to be somebody that is doing this, because you're never going to be able to get to the place where you have the number of people looking at your firm without doing this. I feel that we are very fortunate during this time, being in this generation of having things online and having social media, because before, it would probably, you'd have to spend so much money on doing a magazine ad or getting in the newspaper or doing a billboard. But things like that are just so not necessary nowadays, because most of the time everybody's on their phones. Most of the time everybody's on social media. So really, there's no excuse. Anybody that's creating a firm should be able to create these social media accounts, and then to really think about, if I was on the other side, if I was a potential client, like what would I want to see? Like what would instill trust in me to say, you know what, this is the firm or this is the attorney that I want to go with. So it's not just about making an account and doing the post, but really spending your time and thought about what's going to be material or content that's going to be helpful for the person on the other side. So I just think that this is really one of the most important things for your firm. Talking about client acquisition and branding, I think that this is a hard thing to try to distill early on, and that's why you have to spend time on it. I remember early on, the focus for us was, oh, we need clients. We're going to be sitting around our office and the phone's not ringing. Like, what are we going to do if we don't have any clients? So you're very short-sighted in the sense of, okay, what can I do right now so that I can get clients in the door? But I think that what's very important is just a concept of patience and something called branding. There are so many attorneys, at least in California, that are going to be in most fields of practice. But really, how are you going to stand out, or what is it that is different with you compared to any other firm that's out there? And I think that you have to do that soul searching where you have to figure out, like, why would this client want to retain us, want to retain me compared to any other firm that's out there? And so when you're figuring that out, when you're going through that process of figuring out what is our brand, what is our identity as a firm, what's our identity as an attorney, that's the long-term play. Because as you have that brand and that identity, every time that you come up with a marketing material, every time that you are doing a post, every time that you're doing anything online, you go back to what the identity is. And for us, our firm, it's always been about trials and telling our clients stories. We've always wanted to be able to master the art of storytelling, to tell compelling stories, whether it's to a jury or just to our audience and peers. And so when we're thinking about each thing that we put out there for our firm, we go back to that base and to that foundation. And so when you're doing your branding, when you're figuring out what your firm image is, you have to think about that. And over time, people are going to be able to see that and remember that image of who you are.
Branding continues on to your website, which we all know is really important, especially, in the last 10 to 20 years, probably the last, 15, we are trained to look at a website and for whatever reason, equate it to being a quality business or a business that you don't really want to work with. And that's based off of one of the first impressions that a client or prospective client gets to is your website. So you want to make sure that your website not only looks good, but provides the pertinent information, has a way for the client to contact you quickly, and then also just the back end of the website. If it takes 20 minutes to load your website, I'm going to leave the site and I'm going to go to a different service, right? So you need to make sure that your website looks good, provides all the pertinent information, runs smoothly. And again, this has to be on brand. Your website, which everybody uses now, whether it's on a phone or a computer, it is you. It's a reflection of you. So really take time to consider the design, the colors, what you want to portray to your prospective clients. So spend time on that. Don't have your brother or sister do it who is still in high school. Maybe they're geniuses, I don't know, but spend the time and make sure that this looks good.
Yeah, and this is early on. This is not going to be something where a client's going to find this online and then decide right away. This is more going to be confirmation for them. So for example, they'll learn of you or your firm, they'll look at your website, and it's just clients expect it. For what we do in our industry as working professionals in the legal field, clients are going to expect for you to have a great website. And so it's really your opportunity to potentially lose somebody if you don't have a good website.
And one more thing with SEO, search engine optimization, You can make a quick website, in 10 minutes, but it's not going to be optimized. It's useful if you have SEO in mind as you're building your site. So that normally means having somebody that knows what they're doing, that has SEO in mind, whether that's the web pages, the landing pages, key terms, keywords. But that's something you don't want to overlook. It's really important.
Another thing that's equally as important is going to be client reviews. It is tough. I know that it's very, very difficult to get people to write a review about you, but I'm telling you right now, we as a society, we've literally been trained to look at reviews for everything. I mean, you think about people that are shopping on Amazon, you're looking at things on Google, you're always going to be looking at reviews for a product, and people, because they're trained that way, they're going to want to see reviews about the firm. And so I think that even though it is difficult to get people to write reviews, you have to have your past clients write reviews about their experience with you, because that's going to be the most compelling thing when the next person comes to take a look at whether or not you're the right person for them. And even though it is, sometimes it feels like you're pestering them, it can be difficult. We've had clients that we achieved some of the best outcomes, the biggest settlements, and they would promise us, you know what, we're going to write this review for you, and then they don't do it. Promise after promise. I'm telling you, it's very difficult to get people to actually pen to paper or hands to the cell phone or to a laptop and to write that review, but it is extremely, extremely important. So I can't preface it enough that this is going to be affirmation for people that want to potentially retain you in the future.
And so for systems and processes, that's something that you really want to concentrate on when you're starting out. Make it simple and have clear processes that a case goes from beginning to end. So you want your workflow to be really systematic. And when you start a firm, there's a lot to do right up front. How are you going to take payments? Obviously, you need to set up a business checking and a business savings. What sort of payment system are you going to use? Is it LawPay? Is it, Affinity? There's a bunch of different ones you can use, but you need to make sure that you get those in place up front. How are you going to track your cases? Now, for some people who are sole practitioners that have a low caseload, maybe a Word document is all they need. Maybe that's the sophistication that they need based off the type of law that they practice and based off of how many clients they have. But if you have a lot of clients and you have a lot of dates that are important, and you have deadlines and discovery cutoffs and expert exchanges, and you need to track medical bills and lien negotiations, it starts getting more complex. You need to have a robust case management system that is robust enough to handle what you're doing, not so complex that you don't know how to use it or you just get overwhelmed by it. And then who is going to be the one to really teach the others of how to use that? And if you ever want to contact us to know what we use, we've tried out multiple systems. It's always kind of individualized depending on the type of area of law that you practice. And then that also goes into how are you going to reach out to the client? It's fine if you don't have that many clients, but when you start building a larger client base, you want to make sure that you communicate with your client. That's something that we always focus on. All my clients have my cell phone, for better or worse. But it is useful if you have systems, automatic text messages that go out or reminders that come up in your system that between 1 and 2 on Tuesdays, Thursdays, I always reach out to clients, and you have a system that shows you those. And then also work designation. Once a client has been brought in, who does the intake? What is required of the intake? And then who does it go to? So figure out the flow of your work. All right. It's not too hard at first when you have a few clients. It gets more important later on, but put a lot of thought into it. Really think about how does the work flow through the process, who gets assigned what is the final goal? Because ultimately you're going to need those processes in place to run an efficient firm.
And you have to do this early on, because again, as your firm continues to grow, as you have a lot of clients, you're just going to get busier. And if you don't have certain processes and systems in place, it's going to be so hard, so difficult to try to go back and to create this system and to input client data. I mean, we had to do it when we changed the case management system. It was such a process. So if you can work on this early on when you don't have many clients, I think that this is very important to try to get everything streamlined. I know that we're running out of time, but I do want to talk about, this is very important early on also. Doing excellent legal work, of course, but if you have more time than money while you're starting the firm, and as you continue the firm, I think that it would be a disservice for you to not go and do some type of pro bono legal work, or to do some type of community legal work. There's always, whatever area that you're in, there's always going to be a place where there's going to be a certain legal aid center. There's going to be a place where you can do free legal work for people that are in need. And I think that this is just good community work that you could do, where people get to see you firsthand, spend time with you, and see that, you know what, there's an attorney that's actually willing for free to give me legal advice. And just like this image that you see, I always equate it to this tree. You know, as you continue doing the free legal work, treating people right, giving them a certain amount of time during the day, if they have any questions, and you're doing like a free consultation, it's really like a tree that's continuing to grow its roots. Friends of friends will talk to each other, family members will talk to each other. And when anything comes up in the future, I'm telling you, people will reach out to you, and you'll get calls, and you'll hear that, hey, you know, this person that you had spoken to 6 months ago, their brother or their colleague or their friend is reaching out to you because they're in legal need. And so you have to expend your time. And even to this day, no matter how busy that we are, we always say that we want to leave a portion of our time to kind of give back to the community, because it's important. Somebody in our past has always been giving us their time, whether we were in law school or we were just volunteering. There was other mentors that we had that gave their time to us, and so we have to pay it forward and do that too. But I think that this is just something that's very easy, that you can do early on, so that people get to know you.
And we're going to wrap it up here soon. And, you know, I don't want you ever to think that it is unachievable, or that there's so much going on that you don't know really where to start. One of the key ingredients to our success is that just do the work. All right. And whether that is small things, you know, be consistent. You know, consistency is probably the most important thing that, you know, we can really try to tell you about. You see a lot of motivational speakers out there talking about consistency, and there's a reason, because consistency works. You know, whether that's reaching out to a few new attorneys every single week, and that means every single week you do the same thing always without fail, that adds up over time. And, you know, as a new firm, it's going to take time to expand. It's going to take time for the community and other attorneys to know about you and know about the type of work you do. But if you do those small things day in and day out, eventually it will achieve great results. And, you know, it's not always easy to stay motivated. You know, that's one of the things when you do your own firm, a lot rides on you. But, you know, I have good partners, and we keep each other accountable, and we keep each other motivated. And when somebody's having an off day or an off week, then we'll talk to them, or they'll be back next week. So, you know, stay in the grind, do the things that you need to do, even the small things, and just do it consistently. Consistency over time equals great results.
And that's the great part about having a multi-partner firm, is that you're going to have off days. No, we're not robots. We're not going to show up every single day with the same intensity and level of energy. And so, you know what? I might have an off day, but, you know, Adam and Michael are going to be there to kind of lift me up. And so when you have partners, when you have your peers that are in there with you, working on this firm, allowing it to grow, pushing each other, it's a benefit. And so I think that, you know, of course, if you were to just run a practice by yourself, you're right. All the funds, all the profits, they would go directly to you. But when you are a part of a team, when you have your close colleagues that you trust, you're not going on the road by yourself. And there's value in that, to be a part of a team where you have the same vision and the same goal, and you're working together for that cause. We have a couple questions and answers that were sent to us. I can't see the chats, but I wanted to answer some of these. So Richard Bogdan said, what do you do about a bad review? we've had, early on, we had somebody that just randomly left a review on our site, and he wasn't even our client. And so, of course, we tried to go to the administrators, we tried to get it removed. They wouldn't remove it. They said, sorry, it's against our policy. And so that's just going to happen as a part of the business. You know, random people that you don't even end up retaining for whatever reason, they feel compelled and they might leave a bad review. Well, you have to address that. My personal thing is you can try to reach back out to them after a couple of days if you're able to message them, and to try to help them to understand what they were frustrated with. And maybe it's not you, it's somebody else that's in your office that reaches out to them and tries to get them to reconsider. I would try to attempt that at least 2 times. And if, you know what, they don't want to change the review, that's fine. And then you would have to respond in that kind of review setting, and just leave it simple. I would never, attack them in the review, or try to be so negative. I think people understand that there's going to be people that are out there that are having a bad day or just leave bad reviews, and it just, you let it be. So you have to deal with that when the reviews come up. Another question that we had was, have you ever considered thinking about branching out and doing a TikTok video? So I think that everything matters. It all matters, the things that you do that are out there. I think that there are certain areas of the law that are better for like a TikTok video. If you're a criminal defense attorney, I think that there are great TikTok videos that you can make in regards to, your rights, in regards to being detained, your Fourth Amendment rights. But we haven't done it. I've tried to push for it, but again, sometimes making those things could be pretty embarrassing. So we have not specifically tried to do it.
If I was a better dancer, I would probably do it, but maybe next year I'll work on that.
We had another gentleman, John Torrey, asking, since you began your firm, how often did you revise your partnership agreement? Have you revised or adjusted your fee splitting agreement since the beginning? How often? What precipitated that adjustment?
So, we've revised it once, and it wasn't a big material change. It was just to try to make sure that it's, Elliott and I are both married. One of our partners isn't. We just had to make sure that everything was equitable in the event something happened. And we personally haven't changed the way that we divide the fees in this firm. I mean, I don't know if that's always the right way, depending on your firm, right? Ours is very unique. We're very close. We're almost like brothers here. And, we all respect each other's effort in the firm, and it hasn't been an issue. But the point is, if it did become an issue, we have a policy in place where we can address it. And we know how that policy would get changed and what the votes are required to get that policy changed. So, it's not that, how we changed ours. We could, and there's a policy in place where we can do it that is already in writing, and there's no fight about it. If we want to change it, we have a way to do it.
And we had somebody that was anonymous asking, what is that policy in regards to how you divide the fees? That we're not going to go into, but all 3 of us are very happy in regards to how we divided the fees. It has not become an issue so far, but I will say that, everyone's going to have kind of their strong strength when they come into a multi-partner firm. You're going to figure that out within that first year. One person may be more skilled in a certain area. Maybe another person is a rainmaker, and that's really their sole job. But within that first year, you're figuring it out. You see the things that people like to do, and then you can revise your agreement at that time. Luckily for us, we haven't had to deal with any of that in regards to the fee splitting. But again, we're not saying that our system is a perfect system. We just happen to be able to get along in regards to how we agreed to the fee splitting. We had another question. Did you draft the partnership agreement, or did you have a business attorney prepare it?
We had a business attorney draft everything, right? And that's kind of what I was talking about. I mean, our background isn't in business organization. We don't want to use those online services that are normally not that great. So we actually hired somebody that we knew in the community. There's a lot of people out there that can get it done. Find somebody that has a good reputation with a reasonable fee. because we know a lot of the stuff is draft documents, but we used a business attorney to do everything that we have as far as our business formation and partnership agreement and so forth.
Those are all the answers that I see, Yoni.
Same. There are no questions in the chat, so I think we're good there. And if anyone has follow-up questions, you can reply to today's email after the presentation, and we'll do our best to funnel them directly to Adam and Elliott. But if no one else has questions right now, I'd just like to thank our guests for the wealth of information you shared today. This was a really beautiful presentation, and we're really glad to have had you on today.
Awesome. And I do want to say, if there's ever things that come up, I want to make sure that people have our email addresses. I'm sorry, it was in the last slide, but really, you don't have to do this alone. There's plenty of people that are willing to mentor you. If things come up and you have just like a business question or things about like, what did we do right off the bat early on to kind of figure things out? We are always happy to work with other attorneys that have questions. We love the people that have the courage that want to do this because, again, it is an amazing feeling when you have something that's your own.